Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, we are diving into another powerful novel by the masterful storyteller, Kristin Hannah. Her latest book, The Women, is a profound and gripping narrative that delves deep into the lives of women who defy the odds and societal norms to emerge as unsung heroes. Kristin Hannah is known for her ability to weave intricate tales of human resilience and complex emotions, and The Women is no exception. In this novel, Hannah takes us back to the tumultuous era of the Vietnam War, a time that left an indelible mark on American history. Through the lens of her protagonist, Frances Frankie McGrath, she sheds light on the often overlooked contributions and sacrifices of women during this period. The novel is not just a historical recount, it's a vivid portrayal of courage, friendship, and the undying hope that carries people through the darkest times. As we embark on this journey, we'll explore the intricate layers of the story, unravel the emotional depths of the characters, and understand the broader social and historical context that shapes their lives. So, without further ado, let's immerse ourselves in the world of The Women and uncover the compelling story that Kristin Hannah has so beautifully crafted. The Women opens in the early 1960s, a decade that was, in many ways, a catalyst for change. The Vietnam War was escalating, the civil rights movement was gaining momentum, and the feminist movement was beginning to take shape. It was a period of significant societal transformation, yet for many women, the traditional roles of homemaker and caregiver still dominated their lives. Against this backdrop, we are introduced to Frances Frankie McGrath, a young woman whose path is anything but conventional. Frankie is from a small, tight-knit community where expectations for women are clearly defined. Most young women in her town are expected to marry, have children, and support their husbands. However, Frankie is different. She feels a strong desire to do something meaningful with her life, something beyond the conventional expectations. Her decision to join the Army Nurse Corps is both an act of defiance and a calling to serve a higher purpose. Kristin Hannah paints a vivid picture of Frankie's internal struggle as she weighs the familiar comforts of home against the unknown dangers of war. The decision to leave behind her family and friends is not an easy one, but Frankie is driven by a sense of duty and a desire to make a difference. This internal conflict is a recurring theme throughout the novel, as Frankie constantly grapples with the sacrifices she must make for the greater good. Hannah's meticulous attention to detail brings the era to life. She describes the bustling streets of Frankie's hometown, where the war seems like a distant reality, and contrasts it with the chaos and turmoil that awaits in Vietnam. The setting serves as a stark reminder of the two different worlds that Frankie must navigate, one of relative peace and the other of relentless conflict. The author also delves into the dynamics of Frankie's family. Her parents represent the traditional values of their time, and their reactions to Frankie's decision are mixed. Her father, a war veteran himself, understands the pull of duty, but fears for his daughter's safety. Her mother, on the other hand, struggles to accept that her daughter is stepping into a role that is traditionally reserved for men. Through these characters, Hannah highlights the gender biases and societal expectations that Frankie must overcome. In the midst of these challenges, Frankie's resolve remains steadfast. Her journey to Vietnam is not just a physical one, but also a transformative experience that will test her limits and reshape her identity. This introductory part sets the foundation for the profound personal and collective experiences that will unfold as the story progresses. The harsh realities of war. As Frankie arrives in Vietnam, Kristin Hannah immerses us in the harsh realities of war. The contrast between her idyllic hometown and the chaotic war zone she enters is jarring. The once serene, lush landscapes of Vietnam are now marred by the scars of conflict. Hannah's descriptive narrative captures the sights, sounds, and smells of the war-torn country, placing readers right alongside Frankie as she steps into this new, unfamiliar world. The military base where Frankie is stationed becomes a microcosm of the war itself. The base is a hub of activity, filled with soldiers and medical staff working tirelessly to manage the constant influx of wounded soldiers. Frankie's role as a nurse places her on the front lines of this battle, dealing with the physical and emotional toll of war on a daily basis. Her initial days are a whirlwind of intense training, adjusting to the relentless pace, and forming bonds with her fellow nurses and soldiers. Hannah does not shy away from depicting the brutal realities of war. The descriptions of the wounded soldiers, the makeshift hospitals, and the emotional strain on the medical staff are raw and unflinching. Frankie's initial shock and horror gradually give way to a steely resolve as she adapts to the grim environment. The camaraderie among the nurses becomes a source of strength and solace, highlighting the theme of solidarity among women in the face of adversity. The novel delves into the psychological impact of war on the characters. Frankie, like many others, begins to experience the strain of constant exposure to trauma. Hannah explores the concept of wartime resilience, showing how Frankie and her colleagues cope with the overwhelming stress. Some turn to humor as a defense mechanism, while others find solace in their shared mission to save lives. Despite the harshness of their surroundings, moments of humanity and kindness emerge, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. Frankie's personal growth is evident as she transitions from a novice nurse to a seasoned professional capable of handling the most critical situations. Her journey is marked by moments of self-doubt and introspection, yet she continually finds the strength to persevere. The relationships she forms with her fellow nurses and the soldiers she cares for deepen her understanding of the complexities of war and human nature. Hannah also uses this part of the novel to comment on the broader implications of the Vietnam War. The soldiers and medical staff represent a cross-section of American society, each bringing their own perspectives and experiences to the conflict. Through their interactions, we gain insight into the diverse backgrounds and motivations that drive them. This diversity serves to underscore the shared humanity that binds them together, even in the most trying circumstances. The depiction of the military hierarchy and the challenges faced by women in a predominantly male environment adds another layer of complexity to the narrative. Frankie and her fellow nurses often have to assert themselves to gain the respect of their male counterparts. This struggle for recognition and equality reflects the broader societal shifts occurring back home, where women were beginning to challenge traditional gender roles. Bonds of friendship and love. As Frankie navigates the overwhelming challenges of her new reality, Kristin Hannah focuses on the deep bonds of friendship that form among the women in the Army Nurse Corps. These friendships become lifelines, providing emotional support and a sense of normalcy in the midst of chaos. The camaraderie that develops between the nurses is portrayed with great sensitivity, highlighting the importance of solidarity and mutual understanding in overcoming adversity. Frankie befriends a diverse group of women, each with her own story and reasons for joining the Army Nurse Corps. These characters are vividly drawn, representing a spectrum of backgrounds and experiences. Through their interactions, Hannah explores the dynamics of female friendship, showing how these bonds are forged through shared hardship and mutual support. The friendships are not without their tensions and conflicts, but ultimately, they underscore the resilience and strength of these women. The novel also introduces elements of romantic relationships, which are complicated by the backdrop of war. Frankie's relationships with soldiers and fellow medical staff are tinged with the uncertainty and impermanence of their situation. The intensity of their environment accelerates the development of these relationships, often leading to profound connections in a short span of time. Hannah portrays these relationships with a nuanced understanding of the complexities involved, balancing moments of tenderness with the harsh realities of their circumstances. One of the key relationships in the novel is between Frankie and a fellow nurse, whose friendship evolves into a deep emotional bond. This relationship becomes a cornerstone of Frankie's emotional well-being, providing her with a sense of stability amidst the chaos. Hannah uses this friendship to explore themes of loyalty, trust, and the power of human connection. The backdrop of war also brings out the fragility of life and the ever-present threat of loss. The characters are constantly reminded of their mortality, which adds a layer of poignancy to their interactions. Hannah captures this sense of urgency and the desire to hold on to moments of joy and connection, no matter how fleeting they may be. Frankie's romantic entanglements are complicated by the ethical dilemmas and moral questions that arise in a war zone. The novel delves into the emotional turmoil that accompanies these relationships, as characters grapple with guilt, loss, and the question of what it means to love in such an environment. These relationships serve as a microcosm of the broader human experience in war, where love and loss are often intertwined. Through these personal stories, Hannah highlights the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for love and friendship to flourish even in the most dire circumstances. Frankie's journey is not just about surviving the war, but also about finding moments of beauty and connection that give life meaning. The emotional and psychological toll. As the story progresses, Kristin Hannah delves deeper into the emotional and psychological toll that the war takes on Frankie and her fellow nurses. The constant exposure to death and suffering begins to erode their mental health, leading to a range of emotional responses, from numbness to breakdowns. Frankie, in particular, struggles to maintain her composure as she is confronted daily with the brutal realities of war. Hannah's portrayal of the psychological impact of war is nuanced and empathetic. She illustrates how the nurses, who are often seen as the caretakers, also need care and support. The stigma surrounding mental health, especially in a military setting, is subtly addressed through the characters' reluctance to admit their struggles. The novel sheds light on the coping mechanisms they develop, such as humor, denial, and forming close bonds with each other, to navigate their emotional pain. Frankie's internal battle with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, becomes a central theme in this part of the novel. Although the term PTSD wasn't widely recognized during the Vietnam War, Hannah effectively conveys its symptoms through Frankie's experiences, flashbacks, nightmares, and a sense of detachment from her surroundings. Her struggle to reconcile her wartime experiences with her pre-war identity is a poignant exploration of the lasting impact of war on individuals. The author also examines the concept of moral injury, where Frankie and her colleagues face ethical dilemmas that challenge their values. The constant need to make life and death decisions, often with limited resources and under extreme pressure, weighs heavily on them. Frankie's moral compass is tested repeatedly, leading her to question her actions and the overall purpose of their presence in Vietnam. The isolation from their families and the inability to share their experiences with those who haven't witnessed the war firsthand further exacerbate their psychological burden. The letters they write home often omit the horrors they face, creating a disconnect between their war reality and the perceptions of their loved ones. This isolation underscores the loneliness and alienation that many veterans feel, a theme that resonates throughout the novel. Hannah's depiction of the emotional toll is not confined to the nurses alone. The soldiers they care for are also portrayed as complex individuals grappling with their own trauma. The interactions between the nurses and the soldiers provide insight into the shared experiences of those on the front lines, regardless of their roles. These moments of shared vulnerability highlight the universal impact of war on the human psyche. Despite the overwhelming challenges, the novel also emphasizes the resilience and strength of its characters. Frankie's journey is one of gradual healing and self-discovery, as she learns to confront her pain and find ways to cope. The support system among the nurses plays a crucial role in this healing process, demonstrating the power of community and shared understanding in overcoming trauma. The struggles of reintegration. After enduring the grueling experiences of the war, Frankie's return to the United States marks the beginning of a new set of challenges. Kristin Hannah shifts the focus to the difficulties of reintegration into civilian life, a theme that resonates deeply throughout the latter part of the novel. The stark contrast between the war zone and her hometown accentuates the sense of disorientation and alienation that Frankie feels upon her return. The homecoming is not the joyous event that many might expect. Instead, Frankie is met with a society that is largely indifferent or hostile to the experiences of Vietnam veterans. The anti-war sentiment in America at the time adds to the sense of alienation, as returning soldiers and nurses are often viewed with suspicion or outright disdain. Hannah portrays this societal rejection through the cold reception that Frankie and her fellow nurses receive, making their transition back into everyday life even more challenging. Frankie's attempt to reconnect with her family and old friends is fraught with difficulty. The gap between their understanding of the war and her lived experience creates a barrier that is hard to bridge. Her family's inability to comprehend the depth of her trauma leads to feelings of isolation. The conversations are strained, and Frankie finds it difficult to articulate the horrors she has witnessed without being misunderstood or dismissed. Hannah also explores the gender dynamics at play in this reintegration process. Unlike their male counterparts, female veterans like Frankie face the added burden of societal expectations that they resume traditional roles upon their return. The lack of recognition for their service further marginalizes them, forcing many to suppress their wartime experiences and conform to societal norms. This pressure to return to a normal life without acknowledging their sacrifices exacerbates the psychological strain on these women. Frankie's struggle with PTSD continues, manifesting in anxiety, depression, and a sense of detachment from the world around her. The novel delves into her inner turmoil, illustrating the long road to recovery and the search for meaning after the war. Hannah's depiction of this process is both poignant and realistic, highlighting the need for understanding and support for those dealing with the aftermath of trauma. The support networks that Frankie relied on during the war are now dispersed, leaving her to navigate her new reality largely on her own. However, the enduring bonds formed during her service become a lifeline as she reaches out to her fellow nurses. The shared experiences of war create a unique understanding among them, offering a source of comfort and solidarity in the face of a society that often fails to recognize their contributions. As Frankie grapples with her new identity as a veteran, she embarks on a journey of self-discovery and healing. Kristin Hannah uses this part of the novel to explore the broader themes of resilience and the human capacity to find hope and purpose even in the darkest of times. Frankie's story is one of gradual acceptance and finding strength in her past, leading to a more profound understanding of herself and her place in the world. Healing and moving forward. As Frankie continues to navigate the difficult process of reintegration, Kristin Hannah shifts the narrative focus towards healing and the journey to reclaiming a sense of normalcy. This part of the novel explores how Frankie and her fellow nurses find ways to cope with their trauma and begin to rebuild their lives after the war. Frankie's path to healing is gradual and marked by setbacks, but it is also filled with moments of personal growth and resilience. She begins to seek out professional help, despite the stigma surrounding mental health treatment at the time. Through therapy, Frankie confronts her experiences in Vietnam and learns to manage her PTSD symptoms. Hannah's portrayal of this therapeutic process is empathetic, highlighting the importance of mental health support for veterans. A pivotal moment in Frankie's journey is her decision to reconnect with her past by visiting the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. The memorial becomes a symbol of collective memory and a space for reflection, allowing Frankie to honor her fallen comrades and come to terms with her own survival. This visit represents a turning point, as Frankie begins to find closure and a renewed sense of purpose. The novel also emphasizes the role of community and support groups in the healing process. Frankie joins a network of female veterans who share similar experiences, providing her with a sense of belonging and understanding. These women become a new source of strength, demonstrating the power of collective healing through shared stories and mutual support. Kristin Hannah doesn't shy away from depicting the ongoing challenges that Frankie faces, including societal misconceptions about veterans and the lingering effects of trauma. However, the narrative also offers hope by showing how Frankie gradually rebuilds her life, finding fulfillment in new endeavors and relationships. Her resilience becomes a testament to the human capacity to overcome adversity and find meaning in life after profound loss. As Frankie's healing progresses, she also takes on an advocacy role, raising awareness about the contributions and struggles of women in the military. Her efforts to tell the untold stories of female veterans reflect a broader theme in the novel, the importance of recognition and validation for those who have served. Through her advocacy, Frankie not only finds her voice, but also helps pave the way for future generations of women in the armed forces. The novel concludes with a sense of resolution and hope. Frankie's journey, while marked by pain and hardship, ultimately leads to a place of acceptance and peace. Her story is a powerful reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the importance of honoring and supporting those who have served their country. The legacy and impact. In the final segment of The Women, Kristin Hannah brings the narrative full circle by reflecting on the legacy of Frankie and her fellow nurses. The novel not only honors their individual stories, but also sheds light on the broader impact of their service on history and society. Frankie's journey of healing and advocacy culminates in her role as a mentor and inspiration to younger generations of women. By sharing her story, she helps to break the silence surrounding the contributions of female veterans, ensuring that their sacrifices are recognized and remembered. Through her efforts, the narrative acknowledges the significance of preserving these stories as part of the collective memory of the Vietnam War. Hannah's portrayal of Frankie's legacy is a powerful statement about the enduring influence of courage and resilience. The novel suggests that the impact of Frankie's service extends beyond her personal experiences, contributing to the broader movement for gender equality in the military. Her story becomes a catalyst for change, encouraging more women to pursue roles in the armed forces and advocating for their rights and recognition. The closing chapters of the novel also explore the intergenerational connections forged through Frankie's story. The younger characters in the novel, inspired by her bravery and determination, carry forward her legacy in their own ways. This generational link underscores the idea that the sacrifices of the past can inspire and shape the future, creating a continuum of strength and perseverance. Kristin Hannah concludes the novel with a message of hope and empowerment. Frankie's journey, though filled with challenges, ultimately leads to a life of purpose and fulfillment. Her story serves as a tribute to the unrecognized heroes of the Vietnam War, emphasizing the importance of telling their stories and acknowledging their contributions. In the end, the woman leaves readers with a profound appreciation for the resilience of the human spirit and the power of storytelling to heal and inspire. Frankie's legacy is one of courage, compassion, and the unwavering pursuit of justice for those who have been overlooked or forgotten.